Let's talk about the three P's of medical bill relief. You want to remember the basics of saving the most money on medical bills. Just think of the three P's. It's the basic foundation of all medical bill relief. So the three P's are one, pull the itemized bill with CPT codes, two, price check the bill, and three, pushback. Always call to ask for a lower price and or a payment plan. So let's talk about each of them in order and in more detail. Number one, pull the itemized bill with CPT codes. And the reason why this is important is because you're going to ask for a real bill. And a real bill is something that has CPT codes, 5 digits that tell you what exactly the service that you're being asked to pay for, right? Just to make sure it sounds like the service you received, right? So the issue is 8 to 9 times out of 10, the first bill we get in the mail is not a real bill, meaning it doesn't have CPT codes. So if it doesn't have CPT codes, then you don't know what a fair price is because you don't know what you're paying, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to call the number that's usually at the bottom of the statement. I call them statements or wish lists because they're wishing and hoping and praying they'll fall for their made up fictional number, their MRSP, manufacturer retail sticker price, and pay for it without any question. No, you're not going to do that. So you're going to call that number and ask for, quote unquote, something with CPT codes. So the reason why you have to ask for something with CPT codes is because the CPT codes is where the money is. And it's really interesting that providers will send something with CPT codes, meaning a real invoice, to insurance companies, but 8 to 9 times out of 10 send something completely different to us, to the patient. Why do they do that? If you have to ask why, follow the money, right? It's because too many of us fall for it and the providers know it, you know? I have many mottos, but one of them is never hate a hustler. But sometimes I'm like, wow, really? Just get hip to the game. Now you know the number one important thing to do when you're trying to find the lowest, most fair price to pay for medical care is to get something with CPT codes so you know what it is. Therefore, you can go to step two, which is to price check the bill. You're going to price check each of the CPT codes that you got in step one. When you got a real bill, if you didn't get it automatically, you're going to call back and ask for it. And just an expert insider tip and secret, the fastest way to get that information, something, an invoice for the care you receive with CPT codes, is to ask for a UB-04 form. That's just the quickest way to get it. All right, so now you've got it. You've got something with CPT codes that describes allegedly the care that you received and what they're asking you to pay for. So you're in step two and you're going to price check each of those codes, those CPT codes. There are now many ways to check this really quickly online. And I used to say, Google it, but now we're in the post AI era. So I say, whatever your favorite AI platform is or search is, go on there. Or the easiest thing to do, we've summarized it for you in one place. Go to medicalbillrelief.com, upload your bill with CPT codes, and up will pop, number one, a description of each of those codes. So it sounds like relatively the services that you received, to make sure you're not getting overbilled or overcharged for a service you didn't actually get. And number two, most importantly, what the fair price is for each of those codes. Now, a fair price is the price that Medicare, yes, the federal government's insurance that many people think is for older people. It's not just for older people, it's for people who are younger who have chronic medical conditions also. But the Medicare rate is the rate that your federal government has negotiated to say, okay, this is the lowest, most fair price that medical providers in the United States will accept. So that's a really, really, really important number. The fastest thing to do is just to go to medicalbillrelief.com, upload your bill, and up will pop the fair rate for each of those CPT codes, or each of those medical services. Now, the thing with Medicare rates, we get a lot of pushback. There are many providers or their representatives that will say, well, you know what? If everybody paid the Medicare rate, we wouldn't be able to stay in business. These are hospitals, large medical systems and centers. The thing is, there have been studies that show this is probably not true, but that's why many of us that do this work say, okay, well, fine. We will pay 2 times the Medicare rate and we'll start from there, right? So that's price checking. That's your second P, price check every bill. And then number three, once you have the real bill with the most fair charges, you're going to total up that new total from your CPT codes. And that's the number that you're going to call back in step three to push back. You don't want to be antagonistic, Always be polite and kind. Give everybody the benefit of the doubt that they're doing their best, especially folks in the front lines, all right? Let's say you went to the emergency room because you had this horrible, horrible abdominal pain, and it turns out that you had a bad appendix that needed to be taken out. So you got this big bill for this emergency appendectomy. Let's say that the original bill, their MRSP, was $10,000. You're going to call back with the research you did in step one and step two. You're going to say, you know what, this bill I received for $10,000, quote, in my case, I am willing and able to pay $3,000, unquote. That's a hypothetical example of what usually the difference is between a fair Medicare rate, even doubling it, and the original, unfortunately, MRSP for many providers, large hospitals and health insurance companies. So you're going to say, who can I speak with who can help me make a payment plan? Assuming you don't have like the $3,000 in our hypothetical example all at once or ready to go, right? That's what you do. The three steps. You're going to pull, price check, and push back, right? So a lot of questions I get and people's eyes kind of glaze over when they say, well, how do you know that they're going to accept this? And I had a couple people say, you know what, when I called and said that this is the number that I was, quote, willing and able to pay, they laughed. Okay, you know what? Let them laugh, right? Eventually, the thing to do is to ask for what you think is a fair price based on your research and say, okay, you know what? This is all I can do. Who can I speak with, who I can talk with about something that's in my budget? You're going to stick to your guns. You're not going to pay more than you're able to pay on a payment plan. Because let's say you're able to pay $50 a month and they're trying to get you to pay $100 and you settle for $75. If you have a bad month and you can't make that payment, they can instantly send you to collections. Once you get an agreement that is within your budget, you're going to ask for that agreement in writing. And there you go. Those are the three P's of medical bill relief: pull, price check, and push back. Find out more at medicalbillrelief.com for more support.